Today we're playing Anno 1800 street level view of a Victorian town that I've built. This one was inspired by the city of Seattle, located in-game on the island of Crown Falls. In any case, it really is a beautiful game, and it is one of those city builders where you can emulate a first-person view and take in the view of the city from the street. It's really nice to see all the people just sort of milling around. Not that they're really going anywhere, they're just essentially animations, but the cities feel really alive, and Anno 1800 does a really good job of capturing the beauty of the period. Anyways, today's video is going to be all about raccoons, and someone asked once, why is this channel called Raccoon Republic, and what is the story and the reason behind my fixation on raccoons? So that's what this video is going to be all about, a bit more of a light-hearted one. And so to begin, I'm going to tell you a story about how I used to be a manager at a Walmart store, and the store manager at that time, my boss, he went with his family to see the Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And in that movie, we of course meet Rocket Raccoon, the famous raccoon man who was, I guess he identified as a man, but for all intents and purposes, he was a raccoon. He was a raccoon because of something bad that had happened to him in a laboratory. And I think that they basically sort of infused the consciousness of a man into the body of a raccoon. It was something like that. Or maybe they just did something to baby raccoons to make them have human-like tendencies. Not super sure. But anyway, Rocket Raccoon, you probably have heard of him. He was in that movie, and my manager had gone to see this movie, came back, and we would have this 2 o'clock meeting every day with the other managers. And he was so excited about this Guardians of the Galaxy movie that he'd just seen, and he loved that character of Rocket Raccoon. So he was telling us all about Rocket Raccoon in the movie. And around that time, one of my peers said, well, you know, you're a small guy and you're like a raccoon. So they compared me at that time to Rocket Raccoon from that movie. And just in the moment, I kind of went with it. And then I self-identified from that moment on amongst my peers as Rocket Raccoon, and then Rocket Raccoon sort of devolved into just raccoon in general. And then I realized as time went on, raccoons are really cool animals. They're very cute. I like them. And I like to feed them. And I used to like going to Point Defiance Park up in the Tacoma, Washington area, where there was always raccoons. And we would just feed them, and it was really cute and it was fun. And then they made it illegal to feed the raccoons. But anyway, I used to feed raccoons, and I enjoyed the raccoons. I like their little hands and their expressions on their faces. They really just seem like they're super intelligent creatures. They're very friendly animals, and they have almost human-like idiosyncrasies. But from a life philosophy perspective, the thing I like about raccoons is that, sort of like rats, raccoons don't really necessarily produce anything per se. They're not super powerful, they're not super aggressive, they're not really apex predators or anything like that. They're just small, largely inoffensive creatures that go about their business, and they succeed in just about all environments. But unlike a rat, which probably will succeed in any environment but be in many cases hated by people, the raccoon is not really hated by anybody. Now, they have been hunted for their furs before, I'm not sure if they still are. I don't think so. But raccoon hides were a valued commodity 100 or 200 years ago. But raccoons largely have few enemies, and they pretty much just mind their business and enjoy their lives. They dig in the garbage, they forage for food that they enjoy. They have a sort of a symbiotic relationship with other people, so they get along well, being adjacent to human civilization. And so I think that they're kind of a as far as animals go, they're sort of a nice creature to sort of maybe emulate on some level. So if I was going to say what is my spirit animal, I would say I will pick the raccoon as my spirit animal. Largely, I also try to be inoffensive and tend to just sort of mind my own business and do things that I enjoy, and not particularly competitive. I just try to get along with everybody, and so I think I have a certain degree of affinity for raccoons in general. And so anyways, the love of raccoons slowly kind of went from the that story I told you about being compared to a raccoon in passing, and eventually it slowly morphed into becoming a fan of raccoons in actuality. And ever since, I just kind of took it and ran with it. And now, some years down the road, I'm still a fan of raccoons. I collect anything related to Rocket Raccoon and generally raccoons as a whole. And I just think that they're nice little animals, and so it seemed like a interesting idea to name this channel after the raccoons. If you look at the banner on the front page of my YouTube channel, you'll notice Raccoon Republic is actually a bit of a satirical interpretation of the flag of California, which has a bear on it and says California Republic. So Raccoon Republic is actually a spoof of the California flag, in addition to being a friendly tip of the hat to raccoons. So anyways, I don't know if I have a whole lot else to add to this, so I will close out with this thought. We admire lions and tigers and dinosaurs and all of the big animals that have really captured the imagination of people as being dominant, powerful creatures which represent power and grandness. If you look at the heraldry of countries, quite often you'll see the lion on a flag. You'll see all sorts of animals, but you typically probably wouldn't see a raccoon. Nevertheless, the truth is that people admire things which are big and strong. And yet, if you look at animals in the world which are big and strong, you'll often find that the more big and strong they are, the less capable they are of adapting. And so even though we would admire a lion for being the I guess the king of the African savanna, we wouldn't necessarily view the lion as a particularly resilient creature, because it's always in danger to some degree of being driven to extinction by the encroachment of civilization or by some sort of environmental factors which might result in its habitat being lost. So you see, large creatures, they might be very powerful, they might be very strong, but they're not able to adapt. Compare that to an animal like a rat. It doesn't really matter where you go in the world, you're going to find rats, because they don't need very much to survive. They adapt to any environment. And in business or in life, quite often, that's very true as well. When you're able to adapt to things quickly and readily, and you don't consume a lot of resources, you're going to be able to survive much more easily than people who might have better qualifications, but they require a very specific environment in order to thrive. For example, I'll use me and my boss. So my salary is pretty much like median salary, right? I don't make an enormous amount of money. I think I'm fairly compensated, but it's just a normal salary. My boss, though, is at a more executive level, so his salary is going to be much higher. And where we live in this particular environment, there's not a lot of jobs out there that my boss, if he went out to try to find a different job, would pay anything close to what he makes. So it's a situation where if I lost my job tomorrow, it wouldn't really be a big deal, because I could very easily move somewhere else and find another job that would be competitive in terms of salary and compensation. If he lost his job, it'd be very difficult for him to find another job that would pay an equivalent amount, because there's just far few of them in the marketplace. It's the same thing with big animals. The lion might be the strongest, but the rat doesn't need very much to eat, and it'll eat anything, and it'll live anywhere. All it needs is a hole underneath the floorboards that it can squirrel off into, and the rat's going to be happy as heck. The lion, though, it needs a very specialized environment in order to thrive. So as you experience people telling you maybe that you're not good enough, or maybe as you experience life feeling like it's a treadmill you struggle to keep up with, remember that there's different kinds of success, and it's not necessarily all about being the highest wage earner. It's not about having the highest profile career. Sometimes it's more about maybe spending less of your resources and being more shrewd about what kind of a lifestyle you live. It's about being a little bit more frugal, being a little bit more humble, being a little bit more able to maybe uproot yourself and go to new places. Being able to adapt to things is a very important skill, and it's something that the more you get weighed down by the material pursuits of the world, the less able you are to do that. Like right now, to me, if I wanted to just move to another place in the country and do a different job or something, I could do that. But there's a lot of people who couldn't do that because maybe they didn't save up enough money to even be able to cover an extra month of moving expenses. Or something like I was just saying with my boss, maybe the job they do is so specialized, they don't really have the ability to replace it readily. So they're at the mercy of their superiors or economic forces or something like that to always try to, make sure that they're able to keep their position. And that creates anxiety and fear, things like that. And so the more you let go of that, the less afraid you are of loss, the more you can be kind of insulated from a lot of concerns. For example, right now, there's a lot of talk about maybe an economic downturn. And I'm not really all that worried about it, to be honest, because I don't know that there's any particular thing that's likely to happen that would cause a problem that I wouldn't be able to navigate. But there's a lot of people who maybe are in debt and, driving a big pickup truck and have 3 cars in the driveway, and they've got a big house and they've got a lot of liabilities. And, if they have an economic downturn that finds them, well, that can be a very significant source of stress. So all of this being inspired by a talk about raccoons, oddly. Small animals might not be the ones that get the front page in National Geographic, but when the apocalypse comes, they're most likely going to survive, because the rats are always going to be the first ones to get on a boat to find a new land, and probably the first ones off the boat when it starts to sink. And raccoons, perhaps just a slightly less hated form of the rat, are creatures which have proven to be quite resilient throughout all of time, and I imagine they always will be. Little animals that will find a way to make the best of any situation. So, be a little bit more like a raccoon. Be adaptable, be friendly, be likable, and always enjoy your adventure wherever life finds you. Till next time, thanks for watching.